I never thought I'd be ashamed of my own child, but the moment she was born, everything changed. They placed her in my arms, and I couldn't breathe. She was so dark, almost midnight black, and it terrified me. I'm light-skinned, what some call high yellow, and so is her father. Nobody in my family looked like this. I kept thinking there must be some mistake, but there wasn't. My grandmother was so fair she could pass for white. She married a white man and cut off her entire family, ignoring every letter my mother ever sent. My mother, Libunia, could have passed too, but she chose to live as a black woman. She told me about the day she married my father at the courthouse. They had to put their hands on a separate Bible, one reserved just for black people. Can you imagine the same God but different Bibles based on the color of your skin? My mother worked as a housekeeper for a wealthy white couple. She cooked their meals and scrubbed their backs in the bathtub, but they wouldn't touch the same Bible as her. People say it's wrong to separate ourselves by skin color, to prefer lighter shades in our communities and churches. But what choice do we have? It's the only way to keep some dignity, to avoid being pushed around at bus stops, called terrible names, or treated like dirt in stores. My mother's light skin protected her from trying on hats in department stores or drinking from colored-only water fountains. My parents refused to use those fountains even when they were dying of thirst. When my daughter Ella was born, her skin was pale like all newborns, but it darkened so quickly I thought I was losing my mind. For just a few seconds, I held a pillow over her face. I couldn't go through with it, no matter how much I wished she'd been born different. I even considered giving her to an orphanage, but I was too afraid of being one of those mothers who abandons their baby on church steps. My husband Louis was a postman. When he came home from work and saw the baby, he looked at me like I'd betrayed him. He rarely cursed, so when he said those awful words, I knew we were in real trouble. He blamed me and treated Ella like a stranger, like an enemy. He never touched her, never held her. No matter what I said, he believed I'd been with another man. When I finally told him the darkness must have come from his side of the family, not mine, things got even worse. Eventually, he just left, and I had to find a cheaper place to live. I did my best, though it wasn't easy. When I looked for apartments, I'd leave Ella with a cousin because I knew what would happen if landlords saw her. Even when the law said they couldn't discriminate, they found ways around it. I rarely took her outside because people would peek into her stroller expecting to see a cute baby, then jump back in shock. If our colors were reversed, they would have thought I was just the babysitter. I made her call me Sweetness instead of Mama. I told myself it was safer that way, that it would avoid confusion when people saw us together. Louis eventually felt guilty about leaving and started sending $60 a month. Combined with my night job at the hospital, it was enough to get us off welfare. Those welfare workers were cruel anyway, especially when they looked at Ella and then at me, as if I was trying to cheat the system. I had to be strict with Ella, extremely strict. She needed to learn how to keep her head down and stay out of trouble. With that skin, she couldn't afford to be tough or talk back, not in a world where black children got locked up for defending themselves. I once saw a dark-skinned girl, not even as dark as Ella, get tripped by a group of white boys. When she tried to get up, they knocked her down again, laughing until their stomachs hurt. I was watching from a bus window, helpless. If I'd been there, I would have pulled her away. I made sure Ella knew to cross the street whenever she saw white boys approaching. The lessons I taught her were harsh, but they worked. She grew up careful and smart. I wasn't a terrible mother. I was protecting her the only way I knew how. Maybe I did things that hurt her, things she never forget, but I thought I had no choice. As soon as she could, Ella left. She moved as far away as possible, all the way to California, got herself a good job, and reinvented herself. She doesn't call anymore. She sends money occasionally, but I haven't seen her in years. I'm only 64, living in a small nursing home called Winston House. I have some bone disease that makes me weak, but the nurses here are kind. One even kissed my cheek when I told her I was going to be a grandmother. Ella sent me a note on brown paper. She signs her letters Bride now, not Ella, but I don't pay attention to that. The note said she was having a baby and seemed thrilled, though she didn't mention the father. I wonder if he's as dark as she is. If so, maybe she won't worry the way I did. Things have changed since I was young. Dark-skinned people are everywhere now, on television, in magazines, even starring in movies. There's no return address on the envelope. So I suppose I'm still the bad parent, punished forever for how I raised her. Our relationship has become nothing more than the money she sends. I'm grateful for it because I don't have to beg for extras like other patients here, but I know what it really means. It's her way of keeping distance and quieting whatever conscience she has left. Sometimes I feel regret. I remember her first period and how I handled it. The times I yelled when she stumbled or made mistakes. Honestly, I was disgusted by her dark skin when she was born. I even thought of terrible things, but I pushed those memories away quickly. I did my best given the circumstances. By the time she was 13, I had to be even tougher. She talked back, refused to eat what I cooked, and undid the braids I carefully put in her hair. I had to keep her in line, warn her about the names people would call her. But some of my teaching must have worked, because look at her now, a successful career woman. Now she's about to become a mother herself. If she thinks it's all about sweet talk and cute clothes, she's in for a shock. She's about to discover what it really takes, how the world works, and how it changes you. Good luck, Ella. May God help your child, because now you'll finally understand what I went through.